Hello and welcome to Hope for the Soul. Today, Bubba is back.
Oh, Bubba.
Bubba is in college with Tiny, and the Sugar Bowl is approaching. But they know that if they don't pass this final, they are put on academic probation. Bubba gets to the last question on the exam, and it says Old MacDonald had a blank. Bubba is stumped. So when the professor's not looking, he taps on Tiny's shoulder and says, "Tiny, what's the answer to the last question?" Tiny looks and he waits for the professor not to look, and he said, "Bubba, you are so dumb. Everybody knows it's farm." "Oh, yeah. Right. I know that. So he goes back, picks up his pencil, and he's wanting to put in, farm. Gets stomped again. He waits till the professor's not looking. He said, "Tiny, how do you spell farm?" He said, "Bubba, you really are stupid. Everybody knows it's E-I-E-I-O.
Oh, my word. I'm glad that Kayla found that deep in her soul.
Yes,
Have you noticed that Kayla brings something special to the table?
Kayla brings the humor, the lightheartedness.
And the expressions of her face while she tells these stories. I mean, she places herself right in them. She's not just reciting. I mean, she's living this.
Douglas Hicks coming back to life. Oh, my goodness. Well.
So did it top last week?
I don't know.
Like, that was a good joke, but you're coming off of a really good joke last week.
Y'all just admit it. Y'all like the chicken jokes.
I think we like you're telling the chicken jokes
Yes.
better.
It's not the joke. It's the joke teller.
It's like my dad. He tells the same stories over and over again. But he gets so tickled telling them that you're sick of the story, but you laugh again because he is so involved in the telling. It makes him so happy, and so you get happy.
I like them being, another reason why I like them being so close now is because I hear stories about my own Pepaw from him, and they're pretty much the same stories.
We did get a new one.
We did a couple of weeks ago. We got a new one. I hadn't heard that.
And I was almost bummed out that we got a new one because I was like, I'm here for the same story we've heard for 4 years.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive in today. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going beyond the sermon. Dad, last Wednesday, you taught an incredible Bible lesson. And we're going to just dive into that, your 3 closing points. And if you weren't here and weren't able to hear it or see it online, or if you didn't take notes, here's your opportunity to take notes. So let's go, Dad.
Well, when we decided that we would use this lesson for today's podcast, I started praying for this podcast. And as a matter of fact, you came looking for me a few minutes ago, and I had gone into the sanctuary because I want this to reach beyond just a podcast, but I hope that the lesson that I'm going to close with would be something that would be transformative to just one person, because I know that this was when I learned to do what I'm going to share with you. When I learned this, it transformed my life. It changed me. And then it was years enough back that I began to experience the results of this, to have my mind blown with the way situations and circumstances turned around. And then many of those that I had, several of those who I had come to the conclusion that they had destroyed trust, destroyed my ability to trust. And for the relationships and situations to turn around to where one day, many of those that I had constructed walls to, that I had created distance, that, and to be quite honest, in many ways, people I had just chosen that they no longer exist to me as a protective measure in my own spirit. I saw those relationships transform. And in many cases, those that extremely did me extreme wrong in the past, and those that that I didn't need, and I was protecting myself from, with time and this particular lesson in my life, I have seen many of them have a reversal and endeavor to make things right, and endeavor to, well, I've discovered that with time, they needed me. And it's not that it was myself or my personality.
It was restoration. It was restoration of relationship.
But not just a restoration of relationships. It was more than that. Friendships could be rekindled, relationships rekindled, but it even grew further than that, to where individuals literally would tell me at some point, we need you in our life. We need this. And so I attribute, before I ever start talking about this subject, I attribute the reversal of behavior in these relationships to be not to me, but to what somebody taught me to do. And for that, I'm forever thankful. Amen. You know, I went to Africa, and we went over to Victoria Falls, and there was this this cable, this what do we call them? The
zip line.
The zip line.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked fun to me. I mean, on one side of the river is Zimbabwe, the other side of the river was I think Zambia or another country. I'm drawing a blank.
Zambia.
I know it's not right country, but anyway, you go out across, and then if you're really good, you can touch the other country and push back. And so I rode this. I did the same thing in El Salvador, and I went up a mountain and was going to zip line down. And I'll be honest with you, in both cases, I was given the cables. I was given all the I was given it the side eye, because I didn't know that I really trusted all this. And because, I mean, the one in Africa that I did, if I fell, I mean, the fall was going to kill me, but I'd probably be dead before I got there, because my heart would give out. And so
that's Victoria Falls is fierce.
And then the one in El Salvador,
we did that one.
You were there.
Did you do that one, babe?
I didn't go with y'all. I was the smart one.
Yeah, and Papa went with us, but he stayed down. He wasn't doing that. And it was scary. It was rickety. Sometimes we had to crawl up a scaffolding thing that was tied to ropes to trees.
Scaffolding would have been an upgrade.
Maybe so, but it was definitely.
This wasn't 2x4s.
This was a third world experience.
This was limbs that had been assembled to be like a scaffolding deck.
But in both cases, I realized that, especially since I wasn't going first, I could see y'all, the younger ones, all going first. And I realized it held y'all, so there's a good chance it'd hold me. But I realized that I began to pray for that little bitty connector that connected me to that cable. Oh. Lord, bless that cable. Lord, bless that connection. Make it strong enough. And because literally, when you're stretching out and you're, a couple of 100 feet above the ground, going down a mountain, or maybe more than that, and you're going, 30, 40 mile an hour, and if this thing gives, it's not going to be pretty, and we won't live to tell.
It's going to take them a day to get to you and find you.
Okay, but that's just the thing. See, the one in El Salvador was hidden amongst trees.
It was like bouncing from like mountain to mountain. It was crazy, massive.
I wasn't going to be no George of the Jungle, swinging through those trees.
It took 30 minutes to get up the mountain in the van.
Yeah.
And hours to get down on zip line. So if you fail,
nope.
It's
nope.
Jeez. That really was not our smartest decision.
But the point being that I had to trust something that was inanimate. I had to trust something to have the strength. I had to trust that it wouldn't rust out. I mean, or break, and so realizing that, I was trusting something that I didn't really know if it was trustable. You see, when trust is present, things go awfully good. Things are smoother. Things move faster. But when there's no trust, if there's an office and the boss doesn't trust the employees and it's always back and forth, it might take 30 days to order a box of pencils, because there's no trust. But if there is high trust, or there's an element of trust in that environment, then great things are accomplished. And we could go into a myriad of stories where that, multi-million-dollar decisions were made because two people trusted and they stepped out and did something together. And those are great success stories. But whenever there's no trust, there's no peace. When there's no trust, there's fear. When there's no trust, anxieties abate. Anxieties are there, and when trust is there, things go better. Anxieties settle down. Fears are calmed. Peace returns, and when you have trust, but at the same time, in my condition, when I was getting onto that zip line and putting myself in the God knows whose hands, I was trusting that little cable. I was trusting that connection, and I was trusting these people that I'd never seen before.
Trusting the natives.
So I remember times as a pastor that the punches kept coming. What we do it's a high honor. We have there are stresses to the ministry, but it is a high calling, and it is a privileged calling, and the benefits that come with what we do far exceed the stressful moments. Yeah. However, because we're human and because we're flesh, there's times that we really hang on to those stressful times. We seem to remember them better than the blessed moments. Yeah. But what we have is, and we're so privileged to be able to do this, but there are moments, there are seasons when the hits will come. And when there are seasons when it's just, I've come to learn that if everything's going great and everything's perfect and there's no storm and there's no fires to be put out, that's when I should worry. Yeah. When the hits are coming, at least I know where the devil is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And so I was going through one of these seasons and reading the story of Jesus. And one day he turned to his disciples. Several of his followers had left him, and he whirled around to them and he says, "Are you going to leave me too?" Because it was a time of conflict in his earthly ministry. And no ministry will be without conflict and trauma. But he turned around, and this was Jesus asking people, "Are you leaving me too?" And I've been in that position when I was under stress, when I was taking hits, and I didn't know where the next hit would come from, but I knew the next hit was coming.
You felt it coming. You just didn't know where it was coming from.
I'm like Jesus. Are you going to hit me too? Are you leaving me too? And so it's in those times. But it's also in those times that I felt vulnerable. I felt angry. I felt overwhelmed. And one time I heard myself tell myself, and I heard myself saying, "I will never trust people again. I cannot trust." I was talking of certain people, but my discussion got broader because it wasn't just certain people. Because I'd learned that a lot of people I trusted over the time had disappointed me. Mm-hmm. And so the best way to avoid that feeling of being betrayed and disappointed was not trust anybody. And then when you arrive at that point, you live in an empty place because you can't live in a vacuum. And so I felt violated. I felt angry. I've had to deal with the sense of vulnerability. And then I decided I can't live like this. So I had to find a pathway out of that place, because when you could be in a crowd but be alone, And that's part of being a leader. Is an eagle is going to soar alone, and even in a crowd, a real leader many times will feel lonely with 1,000 people in the room. So when you realize that
Your phone's ringing.
I just hung it up. When you realize that you can develop this fear of people disappointing you, and when you have developed this fear, this is pensanthropia. When you've developed this fear of people disappointing you, you're going to make sure that they don't get the chance to disappoint you. You throw up walls, you get the first hit in, and you become probably over aggressive or at least passive aggressive in such a way that you're gonna protect yourself, and it develops into a thing that probably could be best described with the term behavior trauma. And it's because there is this lingering residue of disappointment, and betrayal, and hurt. And we all have dealt with it. We've all had it on some level. Sadly, many times it's in the home. The biggest victims of this are children who were betrayed by people who should have been able to trust. And do you realize that 1 out of 3 young people in America have been sexually molested or assaulted?
And the overwhelming majority of those are people close to the individual.
Yeah, absolutely. A trusted person. And so this young person grows up knowing I can't trust anybody. Yeah. And so then they begin to live this out, and that they grow up with trauma from this, or maybe another area that is represented as a spouse, when one is betrayed and somebody's unfaithful, and you see a spouse that's really dealing with disappointment, the hurt, the rejection, the sense of inadequacy, and all of those things. So it becomes trauma. It becomes like a behavior trauma that develops in them. You see, all of us at some point have offended and have been offended. And the book I just sent, oh, by the way, I just sent a book to the editor this week, little self-plug. And but I talk about in this book that I have in my writings and my studies, everything has circled around ethics. Everything is circled around doing what's right towards others. You know, the book about doing to brothers. I took it from the concept of doing unto brothers. I named it Doing to Brothers, but I took it from the golden rule of doing unto others. My tongue's tangled right now. Yeah. And so I kind of have posited myself in a position of being publicly a person who is of ethics and who tries highly to always do what's right. Yeah. But even with that, all of us have offended and been offended. And I tell a story in there where that my phone rang a while back, and a pastor called, and he began to chide me over a way I had failed and disappointed him. And while he was airing his feelings towards me, I was thinking, dude, you are the guy that writes about not doing this to people, and you've done it. Yeah. So here I am. I'm an author that has written on doing right towards people and not offending others, but yet I'm being presented with that I had just recently offended. Yeah. And so none of us are exempt.
That's right.
None of us are exempt. And so we have to thank God for the grace and the mercy of Jesus Christ, who gives us 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 100th chances. And so we've all offended, but also all of us have been on the receiving end of being offended. And so none of us are exempt, and somehow we have to learn to release the offense and to re-embrace trust. And it's probably easier to erase the offense than to trust again.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'll forgive you, but you're not going to get close enough to me again to hurt me again.
I'll forgive you, but I don't have to hang out with you like I used to.
The Bible says turn the other cheek, and I've turned the other cheek 2 or 3 times, but it ain't happening again, And so this always brings me to this story where that in Matthew, Peter asked the Lord, he says, Master, he says, if my brother offends me, should I forgive him 7 times? And he keeps doing it. And Jesus says, no, what you do here is you forgive him 70 times 7. Now, if you're a very practical person, if you're an accountant person that keeps track of all of the details, if you keep score in life, so it was one thing to forgive somebody 7 times. On the 8th time, you're not getting forgiven this time.
You're toast.
But Jesus said, no, you don't do this 7 times, but you do it 70 times 7 times. In other words, 490 times.
Yeah.
So just think if this person offends you once a month and you forgive them, you're looking at 490 months. That's a long, long time. That's a lifetime. That's a lifetime. And what Jesus was trying to say is we're not going to forgive a numerical number. We're going to develop a lifetime habit. We're going to develop a lifetime method that we can forgive. Because see, with me, if I have to forgive you 490 times, I'm going to do it because I'm going to cooperate with the Word of God. But if you cross the line and do it 491 times, now is my opportunity to get mine, because we're human. That's the way. We've crossed our I's, we've dotted our T's, we've endeavored to obey the law, but we have completely missed the spirit of the law.
Spirit of it.
And so Jesus was trying to say, I want you to develop a culture. I want you to develop a lifestyle. I want you to develop a way that you can always forgive so you can begin to love and begin to trust again. This isn't easy.
No.
Matter of fact, I've been blessed with life to have opportunities. I have situations that Paul had a thorn in the flesh, and he prayed it would go away, and it didn't go away. But then he tells us, I've learned that his grace is sufficient for me. So in essence, what he's saying is this thing that I've tried to get out of my life, it's not going to leave. But I've also learned that the grace of God is going to carry me through this.
That's right.
And I have a few things in life, and I guess probably we all do. We go through life, and we are blessed with our own unique thing we have to deal with for a lifetime. And it seems that if mine has been offense, and so I've had to develop a way to. You really can't hurt my feelings, but if you do me wrong, you kind of make me mad, and so I'm not going to sit around and cry if you hurt my feelings, but I tend in my mind and spirit to not forget if you stab me in the back. Matter of fact, there's some people in life I won't hardly let put their arm around me because I think they're going to give me a little brotherly hug. But when they got the arm around me, between the 5th and 7th rib, I feel something slide in.
Got that dagger.
Okay, yeah. So I had to learn and develop a way to learn how to trust again. And so one time I went to. I had a situation that was very full of conflict, and it had gone on for several years. So I sought counsel, and I went to an elder, and he told me that if you want to remove yourself from this, that's okay. He said, but we're going to pray, and one of these days, this person that is shooting these arrows at you, one of these days, they are going to need you. And your friendship's going to be rekindled, and this person's going to need you. And I said, "Oh yeah, right. I can believe this, because I'm still bleeding from the arrows." So I removed myself from it, but I continued to try to. I prayed for this person, and I'm going to share that prayer in a minute. I prayed for him, and this went on years and years. And then after several years, I began to notice a difference in the relationship. So a few years ago, I invited this person to come spend the weekend with us here at Conroe Church. And this guy, great guy, it just, for some reason, there had been something. And so I brought him here. We invited him here. He came, spent a couple of days, and we had good church on Sunday morning. And good church on Sunday night. That was before we got on the slippery slope of no church on Sunday nights.
Before we grew.
So at the close of the message on Sunday night, he turned it back to the pastor. I walked up towards the pulpit, and he stepped over and intercepted me. And he wrapped his arms around me. He's quite a bit taller than I was. And he picked me off the ground. He held me up in the air, and he kind of turned a circle, kind of like he was swinging me, but he really didn't swing me, but he just kind of held me up and turned a circle. And while he was doing that, this sweet man, he told me, I have done you wrong for years. And I'm making that right now. I'm sorry for the way I've done you, what I've said, what I've done, and I'm making it right. And then he said, and I need you in my life, which was the fulfillment of what the prophet told me, that one day this person is going to need you. So I want to just share with you and anybody that's watching or listening to this, the process that I had to arrive at a place that would facilitate that very touching moment. It was, to me, it was more than restoration. That was like complete healing. No scars. I mean, I once was blind, but now I see, and I don't even have scars.
You had probably already forgiven him at that point, but it was him saying those words to you of, it's now completely gone.
Oh, absolutely. It was like, that was like the water that rinsed it off. It was like being rebaptized or something, because it was, as far as I was concerned, it was gone when I invited him.
Yeah.
But when that moment came and the Lord intervened and interacted, and it was a transformational moment, because that was when I saw not only the relationship fixed, but also saw the prophetic word that had been given me, that one day this man will need you. And so that happened. And I've told the story. I've written about the story and about the event. And but here is what I had to start doing. And when I learned these secrets, it transformed me, and it began to transform many things around me. And so today, this afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, I don't even know what time of the day it is. What is it about?
They're going to listen to it
when you're
in
when you're in our pod, when you're in this janitor's closet that we call this pod, you kind of, it's quiet and dark. And so, but here is what I did to arrive at this point. I had to learn. This is step one. I had to learn to pray for that person who despitefully used me, who abused me, who offended me, who betrayed me. I had to learn to pray for them. I didn't pray that, my prayer wasn't that they would make it right, or that the Lord would get them, or anything like that. I began to pray that there would be blessings on their lives. And so the first step that I've had to do is pray for those that there might have been an issue between me and them. Lord, bless them. Bring blessings on their lives. And it's not easy, because many times some of those that I've prayed blessings for, they get some of those blessings.
They got blessed.
And some of them are probably more blessed than I, from my viewpoint.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, well, Lord, you're stacking up the blessings. You're hearing me. And I've seen people that are being very blessed, I'm praying for like this, and they're just accumulating blessing after blessing after blessing. And I'm saying, Lord, remember me. Lord, remember me too. But I had to learn how to pray for someone that had betrayed me or hurt me, that they would be blessed. And then that's not easy, because you begin to see the blessings come to their lives. And so the feelings I just expressed, they start rising up. So then I had to add to my prayer, and I had to start asking God to let me feel love for this person. Lord, I want you to bless them. and let me feel love. The second thing is pray that you feel love towards them. Now, it's one thing for them to have blessings.
Mhm.
It's another thing
Mhm.
for you to love them in their unrepentant stage, and you still think they're scoundrel, but pray for them to be blessed. And then, Lord, let me love them. That's a bit more of a journey.
Yeah, I think that's harder, at least for me, because when you have to love somebody who's done you wrong, a lot of times the person that's done you wrong, one, doesn't realize they've done you wrong,
Mhm.
or two, which is worse, and I feel
They
like
do and they don't care.
they do and they don't care, and they have a false sense of morality and a false
Yeah.
sense of reality. And so then you're dealt with, they've done me wrong, and they don't care, not just about me, they don't care about the principles in God's word, but yet they're professing that they do.
Yeah.
And that's really hard for me.
It's hard to love someone who continues to take shots at you.
Yeah.
Who continues to, whatever the problem was, that they continue their activity.
Yeah.
Their behavior hasn't changed, but you're praying that they'd be blessed and that you could start loving them again.
Yeah.
It's not easy,
Mhm.
but I can testify that in many occasions in life that I have begun to feel love and compassion towards people who have, stepped over the line as far as I'm concerned. And so the first thing I had to learn this, pray that they're blessed. Second thing I had to do is pray that I could feel love for them. And the third thing that I had to learn to pray is that, Lord, I don't want to just that I can love them, but I want them to feel love from me. And another day, I would have said, God, kill them. But now I'm saying, Lord, bless them. Let me love them.
And let them know
and let
I love
them
them.
feel that love from me. So now, if you want them to feel love from you, you're tearing down barriers. You're breaking down walls.
It's a physical manifestation.
You're making yourself vulnerable again. You're opening yourself up to everything that went down.
Yeah.
And so now you're saying, God, let them feel love.
Yeah.
Love from me. And if you can continue to pray for that person or that situation until you love them and they feel love from you, then you arrive at a place that is unbelievably supernatural. Because when they feel love from you, you realize, they may never realize it, that they're feeling love from you. What they think is they're just feeling love. They're feeling kindness. They're feeling acceptance. They're feeling understanding from you. But in reality, what they're feeling from you is they are feeling the love of Jesus Christ through you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can pray for them to be blessed, pray until you love them again, and then you also pray that they feel that love, it's really not your love they're feeling. They're feeling the love of Jesus Christ. And in the situation where I described earlier, where I was picked up and turned around and I was told in my ear, I'm making all of this right. I love you and I need you. That was an unbelievable moment because I saw the fulfillment of the prophet, but also saw the spiritual growth in myself. Because now what they're feeling, they may misinterpret what they're feeling. They may think I'm kind. They may think I'm weak. They may misunderstand it. But what they're feeling is something of acceptance of them. That's not me. It's Jesus Christ through me.
It's powerful.
And I can't tell you the times that, and when I say this, and I say this humbly, many times now in life, because I've got some longevity now, and I've been in more than one circumstance to where that I needed to pray this prayer and enact this. Many, many times now, I am amazed at the way that some of these people that I've prayed for in this manner have needed me. And I'm not bragging and I'm not applauding, but I'm shining a light on a spiritual victory. I'm shining a light on a principle that if you can pray blessings upon those who don't deserve blessings, if you can pray that you love those people again and they feel that love, and they actually feel the love of Jesus through you. If I was to list the ways that people have come to need me, that I have prayed this prayer over, it astounds me. And it sounds as if that I'm being bold and arrogant with this. But whoever you are listening to this right now, if you'll pray blessings on those that you can no longer trust, if you'll pray that you can love those that are unlovable, that have done you wrong, if you can pray that they feel that love from you, what will happen is what happened for me is one day that person will come to you in some form or matter with their hat in hand, saying, I need you in my life.
This goes back to the story of Joseph and his brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was sold into slavery by the people who should have protected him the most.
Yeah.
And then fast forward all these years later, they had to come to him and say, hey, we need you. An arrogance of Joseph would have been like, well, you need me. This is what you got to do.
One of the most powerful truths is, how do you treat people when you have the power to destroy them?
Yeah.
When you're in a position
and bury
of authority,
it and no one know.
You're in a place of authority, or you can do them wrong, or you can hurt them because you're strategically placed where you have power or influence over them. How you treat them in that moment says everything about you.
That's so good.
And so I pray that always people that we're in whatever form of leadership, I always pray that they feel the love of Jesus.
That's good.
Yeah. That they understand that it's a safe place. I was speaking with somebody just last week, and I assured this young adult that this is a safe place. This is you won't be betrayed. You may have felt betrayed, but you won't be in this environment, because I am absolutely confident that if you can humble yourself and pray blessings upon those people, and pray that you love them, and pray that they feel that love, it's transformative in its example. So again, out there in the way they used to say it, way out there in radio land, in podcast land, if you're hearing this, if you're watching this, be reassured. You don't have to carry this pain. You don't have to carry this fear of betrayal. There's a remedy. Mm-hmm. And whatever direction in life you're feeling this distrust and you're feeling betrayal, just pray God bless them.
That's good. The second, so God bless them, number one. Number two,
pray that I love them.
Yeah.
Pray that I can feel love for that person.
And number three is that they feel your love.
Exactly.
So good.
Those 3 points. And then when that happens, it places you in one time a situation was an ongoing thing, and I stepped into an environment that wasn't my turf, but it was their turf. And in those few moments, I had 2 or 3 people ask me, ministers, why would you ever come here? And then my answer to them was, I felt like I needed to come pray in this altar. And the answer surprised me, because really, I probably in my flesh, I wanted to set up a sniper and shoot somebody.
Yeah.
You know, but I felt like I needed to pray in this altar. And then another time, and this is kind of the same, maybe the same event. One of the people that was directly involved in the thing that I had an issue with, or had an issue with me, put it this, whatever the issue was, came to me. One of the people, one of the protagonists. Or is the protagonist the good guy? The antagonist is the bad guy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one of the antagonists came to me and says, why in the world are you even here? And I realized that there's something changing in me.
Yeah.
That I could no longer feel that animosity, but I was actually feeling love.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of lesson, if you talk about it, and it's misunderstood, he's bragging about how good and holy he is.
You have to speak about these terms with humility.
I'm sharing with you real life principle, real life experience over real life issues with a real life solution. Pray blessings on them. Start loving them again. Let them feel the love.
Love them so strong that they feel it through you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So good. Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us today. What a good episode. Share this with a friend. Share this with a friend, and let God work in your relationships and in the areas of your life that you're needing Him to strengthen and encourage. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week right here on Hope for the Soul.
Bye-bye.